Hey friends, today I'm going to share a really interesting novel with you. It features characters like Haley, who's loud and loves to sing off Kik Awesha, the witch who appears calm but is actually passionate inside, Natalia, the wolf with a complicated background and a thirst for revenge. When they meet someone like Timothy, who's mysterious and dangerous, the story's direction becomes even more unpredictable. Chapter 30. Good work, you make me feel like I'm living a teen-age dream. The way you turn me on. I can't sleep. Let's run away and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back. Haley's energetic voice filled the car as she belted out the lyrics, her high ponytail whipping around with each enthusiastic head movement. I found myself gripping the handle above the door, my knuckles turning white as Haley's reckless driving sent us swerving across the road. My heart raced, a mix of exhilaration and fear coursing through my veins. Haley, I said, trying to keep my voice steady as I took a deep breath through my nose. Could you please slow down and focus on the road? From the back seat, Kes's voice rang out, tense and slightly panicked. If you don't steady this death trap, I will drive it myself. Haley's laughter filled the car, completely unapologetic. Sorry guys, but Kaisha, she glanced back at our witchy friend for an uncomfortably long moment. Are you scared of cars? I am not scared. Kaisha defended herself, her voice laced with indignation. I just get a little motion sickness in vehicles, and your reckless driving isn't helping anything. I couldn't help but join Haley in laughing this time, the tension momentarily broken by Kes's admission. Oh, you think it's funny? Kes's voice took on a dangerous edge, and suddenly, I felt an overwhelming urge to empty the contents of my stomach. A quick glance at Haley showed her face had turned in an impressive shade of green. All right. Haley conceded, her playful demeanor faltering. I'll drive safer. Just make it stop. As Kaisha undid whatever magical mischief she'd conjured, Haley and I gulped down air gratefully. I turned to Kaisha, my brow furrowed. Why do you do it to me? I complained, as Haley muttered about killjoys beside me. To the rearview mirror, I caught Kes's nonchalant shrug. You laughed at me. Shaking my head, I turned my attention to the rapidly passing scenery outside the window. Despite the chaos, a smile tugged at my lips. I had found allies, friends, and a makeshift family willing to help me. As I listened to Haley's pouty complaints and Kes's smug remarks, a warm feeling of contentment settled in my chest. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly happy. Cursed in SP. OV, heels clicking and hips swaying, I strutted down the hallway on the short trip to Britton's room. I felt the gazes of horny males and a few jealous females. I had long since gotten used to the attention living the Brittany way attracted. Come in. Britton's breathy voice came at my knock. I opened the door, cringing at the sock hanging on the handle, and stepped in, shutting it behind me. Kirsten, she breathed, entangled in her sheets and comforter with one of her guys. When he popped his head out to wink at me, I recognized him. He was her favorite of all of them and was the one she went the most rounds with. I racked my head for his name, Dexter. Derry K. Didn't know you liked to watch. Cursed in. He gave me a sly-side grin. Wanna join? Derek. Definitely Derek. I smirked and shook my head, giving a short laugh. Not into threesomes. Derek, you sure you don't want to try? I'll pass. He made a half-shrugging motion and resumed whatever the hell he was doing with Brittany under there. To occupy myself, I silently inspected her room again as I recorded them. It wasn't really much to look at. She had a few posters of the royal werewolves and power quotes here and there, contrary to the stereotype that followed people with her kind of reputation. Her room didn't have a trace of pink in it. I was pretty sure she despised the color, said it made her want to gorge her eyes out. Instead, her favorite color was yellow, light dusty yellow to be exact, the color of her wolf. Ironically, she hated her wolf, sitting there, passively observing her room as she rode wave after wave of ecstasy, as she liked to call it. I realized I'd gone numb to the vivaciousness of her activities. It no longer seemed to bother me how comfortable she could be as she cheated on Callan time and time again, without a trace of guilt. I'd have to analyze how her mind worked later. I stood and decided to subtly snoop around. On more than one occasion, I found secret stashes of money and profiles on some really important members of werewolf society, but, save for taking photos for later reference, those held no interest to me. Still, I wandered around lazily, hoping to find more. Her room was meticulously clean, not a single object out of place. She hated messes, that much I could tell. It showed in her nitpicky eating and spotless locker at school. Every single poster was perfectly straight, and every one of her clothes were neatly ironed and hung in her mini walk-in closet. But again, save for now having knowledge of her borderline OCD under my sparkly black belt, this information was technically useless. Still, I took note. Minutes passed, and when I noted that the pair were nearly tired out, I shut off the recorder. Cursed in. Brittany stood just as I closed the app, wrapping a previously neatly folded sky blue towel around herself. I think us girls should hang out. I need something to eat after all that exercise, she joked. Derek laughed and I forced a giggle. Be a dear and round up the others, and tell the Omega to pack a picnic for us. On it. I nodded as she breezed past, giving Derek a peck on the lips on her way to the bathroom. He mm'd appreciatively. Derek, change my sheets, then leave before my mate gets back, she ordered before firmly shutting the bathroom door behind her. He gave a short laugh, infinitely humorous, before getting to work, a sudden scowl marring his admittedly handsome face. Interesting. I promptly left to do as I was told, making a mental note to coax his true feelings about Brittany out of him later. Turning a corner, I nearly barreled into Kylie. Sorry, Luna, I mumbled, bowing my head and doing my damnedest to appear apologetic. It's okay. She looked uncomfortable. Good. Brittany wants us to hang out. She sent me to tell you guys. They'll be ready. She started down the hallway. I let her get a few paces away before calling out to her. Luna, please wait. She turned slowly, apprehensive. I kicked my acting skills into gear, letting regret float across my face, opening my mouth and closing it several times in faux hesitation. I congratulated myself internally as I saw the tension ease significantly from her demeanor. Kirsten, what is it? I briefly cast my eyes to the floor before looking back at her, avoiding her gaze. I wanted to say I'm sorry, I said quietly, managing to force the words past my lips. From my peripheral, I could see her expression of utter surprise and skepticism. I shifted on my feet, laying my remorseful expression on thick. You and Alpha Lightwood have always been together. You're the perfect couple in every way. La Luna obviously made a mistake when she paired me with him. I looked away, casting my eyes to my left before dragging them back to her now sympathetic face. But even though all that, despite every obstacle, you two faced everything and you still stuck together. By now, Kylie had moved close enough for me to grab her hand. I grasped it gently when really, I wanted to squeeze it hard enough to turn her bones to mush. He's your true mate. I will never be worthy of him, I stated, winding down my performance. And I'm so sorry if I made you too uncomfortable. I paused for empathetic effect. Could you ever forgive me? Kylie's guard had completely lowered as she stared at me with wide, forgiving eyes. Of course, there's nothing to forgive, she consoled. I let a hesitant smile of relief grace my face. Thank you so much, Luna. I bowed my head. Try your gift on her, Racine suddenly prompted. I was too sure. I'd never actually used it on people before, and I didn't want to mess up what I'd just achieved with my intense acting. Her guards completely lowered now. She persisted. There's no better time. She was strong. Taking a deep breath, I willed myself to relax and raised my eyes to meet hers. Her brows knitted together briefly before the green of her eyes clouded over and her expression went blank. It worked. I cheered, doing a little happy dance. Then I stopped. What now? Ask her about her real mate. I stared at her clouded eyes. Who is your real mate and what happened after you rejected him on the night of the birthday party? My real mate is Intrigue Daniel Bennett, Battle General of the Lightwood Pack. She responded, voice monotonous and subdued. I rejected him on the night of the birthday party, then went to make out with Callum Jacob, howling to take my mind off of it. The previous Omega burst into the room and tore me of him, claiming he was her mate. He denied her and we beat her up a bit, then went back to making out while she limped out of the room and passed out. Some minutes later, Callum claimed he wanted to use the bathroom and left. I heard him hit the previous Omega a few times before rejecting her. Then she accepted the rejection. He returned to the room and we resumed for a while till I left, not wanting to be caught cheating on Harry Theodore Lightwood. I found Harry back at the party, about to touch Kirst and Lena Crest, who I assumed was his mate. I snapped him out of his trance and went ahead to the bedroom when he told me to. I assumed he was rejecting her. Some minutes afterwards, I heard her threaten me through the mind link. I was terrified as he and I had say. I interrupted her, not wanting to hear any more. Okay. Thank you. That's enough. I fished a voice recorder out of my pocket and handed it to her. Then I led her to a bathroom. Brittany always took at least 2 hours in the shower, so I figured I had some time. Answer the question again, then elaborate on 5 of your dark secrets. Once you're done, hide the recorder in the top cabinet. Then snap out of it. I commanded. Then pressed the record button and turned a faucet on just as she started talking. Smirking, I left her locked in the bathroom to fulfill my initial task from Brittany. Good work. Chapter 31. Start talking. Natalia SB. Ovi. After Kaesha quite literally set Haley on a safer path, the drive went a lot smoother. Haley still sang at the top of her lungs, swerving slightly once in a while, and Kaesha still looked supremely uncomfortable, fidgeting and tinkering with a sculpture Shed conjured from her dorm room. I kept myself busy with doing my best to complete the summary on the packs, alliances and rogues book I'd read the previous night, but was having a little trouble due to the sudden jerks the car made under Haley's increasingly restless command. Then she opened her mouth, but not to sing again. Inboard, Kaesha and I raised our heads to look at her. I can see that. We replied simultaneously. She was silent again for a while, then spoke up again. I want to do something. You mean something other than murdering our ears? Kaesha quipped, looking back down at her sculpture. Hey, I'll have you know that I won a sparkly pink ribbon for my singing in the 3rd grade. Kaesha snickered while I raised a brow. Okay. Fine. So my singing isn't the best. But you should be grateful it's me and not Keely. We shared a look and shuddered. Who's Keely? We looked back at her for a few seconds, only to whip back around when the heavy horn of a lorry blared straight at us. And it was right in our path. Or we were in it. We screamed. Kaesha and I grabbed onto the nearest stable object as Haley tried to wrestle the wheel under control. A horn blared. We managed to get out of its way, but the world still spun. Nauseous. A railing zoomed towards Haley's side and rammed the car. The universe rocked. White exploded. I was shoved backwards, pressed violently into my seat. The car somersaulted, flipping and flipping and flipping, and I lost count. Dizzy. I heard Kaesha chant as Haley continued screaming with her apparently boneless lungs. I struggled to breathe, white taking the place air should have been. We sailed through the sky, a blur of blue, green and gray visible outside my window. It stopped. Disorientation gripped me as I tried to rationalize which way was up. Chilling silence reigned. Then Kaesha groaned behind me. Ava, Haley. Are you guys okay? Answer me. Alive. Haley croaked, voice hoarse and gravelly. Ari. I wrestled enough air down to wheeze a weak K. Kaesha muttered a word and the white faded, the airbag deflating. Beside me, Haley did the same. I slumped forward as far as the seatbelt welded against my chest would allow, trying to make up for my oxygen depravity. My vision still swam. Kasha said another word and the seatbelt tripped down the middle, allowing me to properly breathe. I thought, "You don't chant," I said once my vision cleared. "My mind is a mess," Kasha said after a while. "If I don't use the stupid words right now, my magic won't focus," Haley commented, lacking her usual enthusiasm. Suddenly, we were descending, gently but still going down. Till now, I hadn't noticed that the car seemed to be hovering above ground level. "What's happening?" Panic crept into Haley's tone as she looked at me. "I don't know." I turned slightly so that Kasha was visible through my peripheral. "Kasha, you were chanting earlier." "Right." She shook her head. "It isn't me. I only casted protection spells on the three of us. This isn't even magic." "The guards," Candy reminded me. Seer and Ness had special abilities. "Not magic." "Shit. What do I tell them?" "I don't know, but you need to think of something fast." The car bounced slightly, touching the ground. Kaesha and Haley scrambled outside and I followed in suit. We moved to the rear side of the car, tense and ready for a fight. A boy, a bit older than Kaesha, stood, panting with his hands on his knees. Sweat drops beaded his forehead as his hard brown eyes glared tersely at us. His clothes, too tight, stretched over his deep brown skin and muscles that spoke of years of manual labor. Overall, he didn't seem suspicious, save for one detail. He smelled like a rogue. Or Haley started, then stopped as I held a hand up. "Hail, aho, witch, hail. Be ready to attack or run." Kaesha, ready an attack and a defense spell. I instructed lowly. Thankfully, neither questioned me. "You're welcome. By the way," he snapped, standing straight, then focused his glare on me. "What's a newbie rogue doing in a car with a witch and a human? Who are you calling a rogue?" I bit back. He sniffed the air. Could have fooled me with that smell. "I'm a lone wolf. There's a difference." He didn't relax. "Explains why you don't smell like death. Yet neither do you. It seems." There was blood in the air, but he didn't seem to have that stench of decay that followed notorious rogues. The more pack werewolves they killed, the worse the stench. He bent into a fighting stance, his arms tenser than necessary. Might not stay that way. My eyes narrowed, and Haley and Kaesha stiffened beside me. "Is that a threat?" "Only if you are." "What is he talking about?" Haley questioned. He scoffed. "I see the humans in the dark." Haley bared her teeth, canines lengthening. "I'm not human." "So it seems." "Who are you?" I demanded. He cocked his head. "So they didn't tell you. Who the pack that sent you?" Kaesha scowled. "We're here on our own." He stared at Kaesha long and hard, assessing her, witches don't normally work for packs. He admitted, but they also don't normally ride with two werewolves. "I don't believe you." He looked ready to attack, and judging by how Hed stopped the Sienna mid, Aaron lowered it to the grass. He was a gifted werewolf. "We don't care." Haley snapped. His eyes glowed briefly and he flung an arm at us. The tree beside him followed the motion, branches racing to confine or impale. We never knew. Haley dashed out of the way, leaping and running on and over them. The ones headed for Kaesha went limp, shriveling up. I barreled forwards, avoiding them with quick movements as I rushed at him. His breathing was heavy and more sweat glazed on his forehead. He was tired, with each arm movement. Trees, logs, and stumps moved to do his bidding. But he also grew more worn out. His gift didn't seem to be designed for continuous usage, and it showed as he huffed and puffed with even the slightest twitch. Leaping over the last of the branches, I landed sitting on his shoulders. He yelped as I pulled our collective body weight backwards, steadying my hands on the ground before using my lower body strength, so slam him down. Then I flipped so that I was sitting on his back, twisting an arm precariously behind him. The tree stopped. "Who are you?" I demanded. Hey Reese, you know already. They hired you, didn't they? Who the hell are you talking about? Kaisha groaned. Haley flailed her arms, indicating all the twisted trees. Yeah, you just attacked us for no reason. He was silent for a while. Then he spoke. You mean, you don't know? No, we yelled in synco. My bad. Haley growled in frustration, then moaned with pain. My head snapped up to look at her. She was clutching her arm, several shards of glass and small pieces of metal poking out of it. Some even lodged in her side. Blood almost completely coated her left side. Haley. I leapt off the jerk and raced to her as she sank to the floor. The injuries looked way too deep. Even a werewolf would need a pack doctor for them. Kaesha was by our side in seconds. I looked at her. Can you heal her? Yes. But the wounds deep in shall need blood. And you'll need to channel something to make it fast. Channel me. I grasped her hand. She nodded. Haley, what's your blood type? B negative. Kaesha looked at me questioningly. I can't. MO positive. Can't you? She shook her head. AB negative. Panic bubbled. I couldn't lose the one family member I liked. I could not lose my sister. We need blood. Use mine. I turned my head around so fast. It almost gave me whiplash. The jerk was standing slowly, rolling his shoulder. It'd been twisting some seconds prior. MO negative. Kaisha looked questioningly at me. I nodded. The jerk turned, potential savvier move towards us. Kaisha summoned a knife and grabbed my hand. The guy moved his hands and the loose branches moved under Haley and stretched out, forming a bed. Then he held his arms out to Kaesha. Kaesha didn't need to chant. She focused on Haley and the pieces of glass and metal dislodged themselves from her. Blood flowed harder and she whimpered. Ari. I held her hand and squeezed gently. Am here. Once all the glass and metal was out, Kaesha dumped them on the grass and stabbed the guy's arm with her knife. When she took it out, the blood flowed through the air from his fresh injury to Haley S. As Kaesha worked as fast as possible, the spell drew on my energy. Once she was satisfied, she focused on Haley and closed the wounds. Then she did the same for the guy. Haley. I squeezed her hand. She sat up, smiling wide. Well, I feel so much better. Thanks you three. Then she frowned. Kaesha, you have some glass shards on you, and you're bleeding a little. We looked at Kaesha. Fine. Silence and raised brows. She rolled her eyes. Okay, fine. The pieces of glass fell off her skin and clothes. Those slightly lodges in her skin were pushed out as her bumps and cuts patched themselves up. Happy now. I grinned. Immensely. Then, turning to Haley, I caught her in a hug. Thank goodness you're all right. I felt her arms return it as she smiled against my hair. Too soon. Awkwardness crept on me and I let her go. Nevertheless, she smiled warmly and grabbed my hand, tweezing it. You'll get there, she whispered. Then she turned and grabbed both Kaesha and the jerk in a group hug, thanking them in quick words that blurred together into barely understandable babbling. A full minute of thanks and reassurances ensured before she released them. Using them both my palm, I quickly shoved the jerk backwards. He near flew into a gnarled tree of his doing, back arched and gasping at the impact. I walked towards him, Kaesha and Haley at my sides, surrounding him. Despite him helping us, he was still a rogue werewolf that had attacked us on the abandoned forest floor beneath the highway. He stared warily up at me and I returned the look with a glare of my own. Start talking. Chapter 32, a parasite of a Pacmetaliaspi. Oh, my name is Timothy. He began, then remained silent. Kaesha was all but done. She took a half step forward, hand trembling threateningly. Explain yourself. I subtly touched her elbow, trying to signal for her to calm down. Despite our obvious advantage over him, there was no telling what he could do to, at the very least, escape. Yes, HED helped Haley, but he was also a rogue that had stopped a falling car, right before attacking us out of the blue. The spell had weakened all of us, and I knew a fight would not turn out well for either parties. Sure, we'd most likely catch him, but only after we'd sustained a few injuries. The way his gaze darted about moving between the three of us, but training mostly on me, put me on edge. He was cornered and he knew it. The most dangerous animals are always the trapped ones, desperate to get away.
"You're not getting away, Tim,"
Haley warned, shooting me a brief grin when I looked at her, then returning her gaze to him. "So why don't you keep talking?" He glared at her for a while, before looking back at me. "We're not your enemies," I said, eyes unwarvingly on his. "We just didn't appreciate you attacking us so suddenly and want to know why." One last darting glance between the three of us. Then he sighed. "Not like I can take you three on anyway, even if I were at my full strength. And I'm sure you know that. As cautious as you are," Ari stated, looking pointedly at me. Cautious coughed. "Wow, you're not a total idiot. Where was this revelation before you attacked us? 3 disoriented people who were in an accident. Pretty sure I could handle some spells, a baby rogue and a human girl." He scoffed. "Werewolf," Haley snarled. Kasha continued. "And how did that work out for you? Still alive, aren't I?" He raised his chin, defiant. She crouched low, face level with his. "You sure you do like to keep it that way, hon?" He smirked. "Why do I ask? You want to switch it up for me?" Acting fast, he flicked his hand at her, causing the tree behind him to charge at her. Kasha was considerably slower in her reaction, but still effective as she held up a hand, withering it into lifelessness. Suppressing a groan, he leapt over the dead trunk and tried to slip past her. Haley moved to jump into the fray, but I held an arm out, stopping her. Kasha was extremely capable, and I wanted to see how she would handle him on her own after such a spell. Timothy never got past Kasha. If she was slow, he was slower, and all she had to do was let her fingers brush his arm as he attempted to maneuver around her. He froze in his tracks. She placed a hand on his shoulder, leaning in to whisper in his easing pout. "And here I thought you were staring to warm up to me, Timmy." Besides the movements needed to keep him alive, he could only move his facial muscles. "Can't do that if I'm frozen. Now can I?" She patted his head, her fingers bouncing slightly on his thick, short curls that suck up at random parts. "Not frozen, just paralyzed," she informed. Haley and I made our way to his line of vision. "Now, Timothy," I said, "you were telling us about yourself." He scowled for a good few more seconds, before sighing. "I was kicked out of my pack 3 years ago and have been living in seclusion ever since." I analyzed his look. His shorts and t-shirt were stretched way too much. The Dushes back at the Lightwood Pack would usually wear tight-fitting clothes, especially if they wanted to show off as a means to getting laid. But they ever looked this close, fitting, to the point of discomfort, or this worn. I guessed that he was probably 19 or so, meaning that HED had a considerable growth spurt during his time as a rogue. But if that were the case, his sandals, snug as they were, wouldn't have had any hope of fitting. "Not total seclusion," I said finally. "How do you get necessities?" He glared some more before replying. "I help out with construction work around isolated areas, like the interstate roads and forest." That would explain his physique and the fact that his shoes were the newest clothing item he wore. But some things were still off. Earlier, Haley began before it decided to voice my thoughts. "You assumed that someone sent us, that a pack sent us." She glanced at me, silently wondering if she should continue, and risk revealing how inexperienced she was. I nodded. It was unusual for packs to send members or mercenaries after a single rogue. For rogue packs and wanted rogues. Yes, but, last I checked, he fell into neither of those categories. His scent wasn't even tainted with death. Haley paused, eyes boring into his as she scowled at her. "Who are you running from, Tim? What pack would want to hunt a gifted werewolf like yourself?" He maintained his stony silence, allocating his glare between the three of us. We followed his lead, the three of us focused on him. Finally, His gaze settled on Kasha. I assume that you're planning on keeping me like this till I talk. He stated more than asked. You assume correct. And who's to say that I won't just get the trees to knock you out or move me away? Because you would well have already done that. You know it wouldn't make a difference. She countered. Your gift seems to based on movement, whether or not you're capable of it. You don't seem to have pinned down Andy or O'Kinsis without gestures. I noted. Plus, you're tired. Too tired. You won't be able to escape the three of us. Given the circumstances, I doubt you could barely move at Wig right now, Haley declared in conclusion, heaving a sigh, or at least trying to. He began. I was to be the next battle general, after my father was to retire. It'd been trained and tested and tried in every way for the position, and passed. Everyone had given their approval, but the Alpha, I was on good terms with him and he had told me several times that I impressed him, that he was going to approve me. He paused. His eyes gave away what his body could not convey in trembling. The memory pained him, enraged him, and he was willing to let take control. He closed his eyes, taking a few seconds to breathe and calm himself, before opening them, as he began to speak. I noted that his gaze was trained mostly on Ka-Esha. A week to when the Alpha was supposed to sign his approval, we hosted some representatives from a pack. That's when it all went downhill. Within the next 3 days, most of the pack had beef with each other that seemed to spawn from nowhere. Most of my friends weren't talking to each other. Mates were fighting, and the higher-ups were suspicious of everyone. By the 5th day, several mates had rejected each other. Families had torn apart. Werewolves who were ride or die fought blood ILY in both wolf and human form, and every higher-up had been challenged for their position at least twice. A few even lost. He looked away, unable to face even Ka-Esha. I watched my pack, the community I loved, tear apart at the seams. Then it was my turn. Somehow, the Alpha believed that I, and a few of the successors for other positions, weren't raiders. He accused us of systematically selling information to rogue packs and organizing an attack. The day before he was supposed to sign for our promotion, he waved some bogus evidence in our faces and banished us. When that happened, we turned on each other. Nobody knew what was happening and suspected everyone. His voice trembled. We were rogues now. We had no family, no pack, and some of the others had rejected their mates in the first few days of the confusion. I couldn't believe what had happened. I hung around the territory for a while. I kept hoping that the Alpha would realize that it was all fake and invite us. At the very least, I wanted to see my pack get better. It only worse. Then I noticed that the representatives made daily trips into the woods to make calls at a specific time. So I eavesdropped, and it made all sense. The calls were reports on how my pack was declining. They were responsible for all the mistrust and chaos that was going on. They were the reason I had to witness my best friends fight to the death over a mate in their banishment. He was furious. Even under KES's spell, he managed a few jerks. A few of the trees near us shivered, branches attempting to twitch in the way he could not. They tore my pack apart, and they want to kill me. They noticed my presence one night and recognized me. One of them gave chase while I heard the other tell the person on the phone that they needed to terminate an eliminated member. I managed to escape and had been in hiding since. His story sounded too familiar. It was just like what Kirsten had described to me as the Lightwood Pack's way of gaining power and eliminating competition. What was the name of the pack that destroyed yours? He scoffed, glaring sideways into space. They're not even a pack, they're a virus. A cruise. I hear rumors from some middle and low-ranking old pack members when I'm on the move. They all hosted the same pack. The mate either disbanded or lost their rank. Those that had heard the rumors in advance cowed and risked the consequences of refusing to host them. They're already that powerful. He focused on me, and I said the words with him. The Lightwood Pack. I smiled at his expression and his eyes, as slit as they already were, by some miracle, narrowed more. I think you'll be useful to us after all, I said. mentally noting the questioning look on Kas's face as it slowly turned to realization. That's right. I never told her the name of my old pack. His neck muscles strained, as though he was trying to bolt. Kes has still held, but I caught his arms moving a minuscule fraction of an inch. I shot her a look and her brows furrowed, reinforcing her hold. I knew it. I knew it. You just wanted a confirmation out of me. They sent you here. They sent you all here to kill me. Kasha took a step towards him. Tim, why? He pinned her with his glare. Why would a witch work for that parasite of a pack? Aren't you supposed to be one of the keepers of balance? Just go back to your coven. He looked back at me. No, you have control of her people, don't you? Then snarled at Haley. And newbie is here so you can show her the ropes, huh? Catching escaped pack demolition victims that know too much. 101. His eyes were ablaze as the trees around us creaked and trembled. You're sick. All you Lightwood Pack members are fucking sick. But it's a good thing we're not Lightwood Pack members. I grinned as he stared at me. Oh yeah, he said finally. So how were you connected to them? And how would I be useful to you if you're not? I was part of that sick pack. Now I'm forming my own, for the sake of revenge. I looked at Kasha and nodded. She lifted the spell and he collapsed. Muscles stiffened and supportive it. They're more fragile on the inside than they seem, and I fully intend to exploit that fragility. I held a hand out to him and he stared apprehensively at it. Wanna join? Chapter 33. What they lack. Natalia SB. OV silence. Dumbfounded silence. Then, are you all out of your minds? He exploded. Probably, but that's not the point here. Haley quipped. He ignored her. Were you not listening to my story? Kasha replied. Yes, we were. They destroy packs and are powerful enough to make the sizable ones fear rejecting their visits, and you still want to go up against them. I nodded. Yes, we do. They have the resources to consistently hunt for a gifted, trained battle general werewolf for 3 years. Do you know how many times they've come loose to capturing or killing me in that time? 617 times. 617 times. They could have either ended my life or thrown me in a musty cell, never to see the light of day again. And you still want to go against them? I believe I've already answered that question. He blinked, letting the fact that two werewolves and a witch were, apparently, mad enough to fight a notably powerful pack sink in. Having finally absorbed that information, he scoffed. No matter how strong the three of you are, you can't go up against them. You don't act like someone on their radar. You should count yourself lucky that they freed you and just make a new life for yourself. Don't get too full of yourself just cause you know a few JIU, Jitsa throws and have a witch and a newbie with you. Don't get too full of yourself. Candy growled. He had no right to say that. They did not free me. They hated me right from when I was born and made damn sure they showed it. I've seen their tenacity. I've served and cleaned and slaved for them, in both the teen and adult pack houses. I know what they have, what they are, what they can do, more than most others. I freed myself. I leaned closer, daring him to argue. Or were you not listening? He said nothing. I stepped back and turned to Kasha, who had been regarding me with a concerned look. Is it possible to restore the Sienna with magic? Refocusing on the present. She nodded. It'd been in that death trap long enough to know it form. It'll take a while, though. And I'm tired. That's all right. You can go about it however you wish. Just don't overwork yourself. Okay. You've done a lot today. I'm on it. Don't worry. I'll take it slow. Haley piped up. It'll help. You can channel me. They started towards the battered vehicle. Are you sure? Definitely. It's the least I can do. After what you, Tim and Ari did for me. Haley confirmed. If you say so. Not sure I'll ever get used to you calling her Ari. Though, she seems more like an Ava to me. Haley shrugged. Aided Ari. She's still the same baby sis we both love. Kasha looked at Haley sharply. Surprised. You're sisters. You look nothing alike. Half Sisters, Haley corrected. When did this happen? I thought her only family was back at that horrible pack. Haley shrugged again. We just found out yesterday. After you left. Apparently, our old man wanted to try all flavors in bed. EWW, girl. TMI, Haley laughed. I really needed to fill Kaesha in on what she'd missed. I turned back to Timothy. HED picked himself up, however wobbly, and stood. A skeptical frown I was sure was too different from his neutral expression on his face. He looked from Haley and Kaesha back to me. Our biological father is Clark Lightwood. I stated simply. Septism morphed into shock. Why would the alpha treat his kid like crap? And does he even know about Bubbles and Sunshine over there? He indicated. He was chattering away as Kaesha worked, a hand on her shoulder. He raped my mother, and resented me for daring to exist. I doubt he knows about Haley and her twin sister, but the only one that can tell you that for sure is their mother. Either way, we don't qualify as his children. They're the assholes that are next in line to lead the Lightwood Pack. I regarded the trees around us. Could you straighten all this out when you're strong enough? We don't need anyone. Humans or otherwise. Seeing this, was already planning to. I wouldn't be survived this long if I left a trail everywhere. Timothy rolled his eyes. Good to know. I turned to leave. You won't be able to touch them, he stated suddenly. Who said anything about touching them? I turned back to face him. I'm going to demolish them. He scoffed again. Easier said than done. Having to alpha wolves and a witch won't do anything. And a Luna? I interrupted. He blinked. What? My half-brother. The next in line for alpha role. Rejected his mate and took another. After that, she came to me. He folded his arms. So, where is she? Why isn't she here? Telling him was risky. There was a high chance he could go back to the Lightwood Pack with his information in exchange for his freedom. I regarded him. From the way he held himself to how he waited impatiently for my reply. He seemed like someone that hated more than feared in any given situation. He might not have wanted to join us, but he sure as hell was going to do anything major to hinder us. Shess on the inside. Inside as in. Shess still in that pack. I nodded. Shess our intel. His eyes narrowed. And if she turns on you? What if she already has? She was supposed to be the next Luna. Right. I can't lie. I said. That is a possibility. My wolf and I worry about it each passing day. I glanced back at Haley and Kaesha, working together and laughing, and he followed my gaze. Then I looked back at him, smiling softly. But my pack will be built on the very thing the Lightwood Pack severely lacks, trust, even though I'm still learning how to do it myself. I turned again, facing Haley and Kaesha, facing my pack. The Lightwood Pack will be destroyed by my hands, I stated, not bothering to face him. So you can either be one of the orchestrators as it's playing out on the stage or catch whispers of the reviews when it's all over and you've exhausted yourself from running. He said nothing and we remained silent for a while, watching the others. Haley would ask Kaesha a question about the technicality of witches or something pertaining to what they were doing, her voice carrying obvious interest and curiosity. Kaesha would respond patiently and in detail, obviously happy to be talking about her heritage. Haley was probably the only person to ask her such questions since Jess left her coven. Maybe since even before then. Timothy, I called finally. What? I once read that. Those with the brightest smiles often had the saddest hearts, so. I heard him huff. I turned my head so that I could see him in my peripheral. So don't underestimate Bubbles and Sunshine. I started walking, making my way to Kaesha and Haley as they worked patiently to revert the Sienna to its original state. Ari, I turned back to him. How do you know it won't be the other way around? How do you know they won't catch on and demolish you before you can even get close enough to sniff them? His gaze strayed to something behind me. My guess of that something was Kaesha. His eyes returned to me. his expression no longer simply hard and unyielding, but underlined with worry, the kind that most likely remained suppressed for 3 years, the kind that was nurtured with loneliness and crippling paranoia, the kind that was now for someone other than himself, because I'm trusting them. I glanced back at the others, smiling. I'm trusting Kaesha and Haley to have my back. I'm trusting my inside person to deliver with incriminating information on them. And I'm trusting myself to become strong enough to slay my demons before they hurt anyone else I care about. He regarded me, intense and searching. If I join, what will you be trusting me to do? No longer smiling, I looked him dead in the eye, matching his intensity. I'll trust you to want to slay the same demons almost as much as I do. No, I raised a brow. He raised his arms up, rotating his wrists as they reached for the cloud-filled sky. The trees immediately surrounding us followed the instruction, unfurling themselves from whatever unnatural position HED put them in and standing upright. I could see the immediate effect of such a big action while he was still tired. I knew Slayer's sweat replaced the sheen that had evaporated, glazing his forehead. His breathing became labored again, chest heaving and muscles quaking. You can trust me to slay the bastards right alongside you. I held my hand out to him again and he took it, grip as firm as his conviction. I'm in. Chapter 30 for the village Natalia SP. OV. After restoring all the trees, a very exhausted Timothy left to retrieve the few belongings he had. Shilton to Wolf on the run had everything they own on them. It asked. HED sighed, giving me a weary look. Hung with exhaustion, it explained the method I used to keep them off my trail, but I don't have the energy for that. He looked about ready to fall over, and not in the lazy, laid-back way of Danny. You sure you'll be okay? Should I come with you? He gave me an infinitely displeased look. All right then, Candy quipped as he waked away. Be nice. She harem-fed. I don't like this, Nat. You've mentioned the Lightwood Pack to 3 people over the last week. I get how Haley and Kaesha are most likely unrelated to them. But what about him? HES on their radar. He could sell you out for Lenines. He could be going to alert them as we speak. How can you trust him not to? I sighed. It's true that he could turn on us. He could be with them now. He could have called them long before we finished our little brawl. Hell, he could even have left so that HES not caught in the fight that will ensure if they come. I don't know. Candy. I sat, cross-legged, on the grass. I don't know how to do this without worrying. Either. But we have to. Candy. We have to trust that he wants them dead more than he wants them off his back. I glanced back at Haley and Kaesha again. Beatty fixed a considerable part of the vehicle. Only a bit of it was still dented and scratched. Kaesha was working faster than I still thought was safe after the magic shed used earlier. But Haley was with her. Beneath her relatively human upbringing, she was a, no doubt, powerful alpha she-wolf. She'd offered Kaesha her energy, and she definitely had enough to spare. Even after working on the car for a while, she was still energetic enough for 2. Fine. She grumbled finally. I trust you, Nat. And if you think letting him in is ultimately best, he'll trust you on that. So, does this mean you'll trust me enough to explain what you said earlier? She remained quiet. Thought so. I'm sorry. Nat, I just can't say. I rolled my eyes. So can you tell me why you can't say? Just that it's not time. She replied in a quiet voice. I didn't respond. Ari Haley called suddenly. We're done. And look how pretty it turned out. She gestured excitedly to the new-looking vehicle. I stood up and walked over to them, admiring their work. It looked even better than when we rented it. And guess what Kaesha did? Guess. I opened my mouth to tell her I had no clue. But she turned to Kaesha. Kaesha, tell her what you did. Kaesha laughed. I got a pretty good feel of that jerk's energy back at the rental agency when he handed you the keys. So, whenever he looks at the Sienna, he'll see something that looks like it's been used for a Fast and Furious movie. Only none of the main characters were behind wheel. So, when he goes to tell his boss that we totally totaled it, Hell looked like a bigger fool than how he made me look on that awful date. I grinned, returning her high five. Hell no, not to mess with you again. Better believe it. Hey, where'd Tim go? Went to get his things. HES coming with us. Kasha looked sharply at me while Haley grinned. You sure that's a good idea? Ava, I mean. She looked around apprehensively. HES still on your old pack's radar. What if he sells us out? Or what if this was all a trap from the start? We should go. Haley frowned. Or he could be telling the truth and we're his only chance to escape a lifetime of running. We can't just leave him here. And if it is a trap, Kaesha challenged. What LL we do? From that conversation back there, it sounded like this Lightwood Pack could easily outnumber us. Haley raised her chin. Then we fight. Kaesha rolled her eyes. And just how long do you think would last? I've performed several intermediate spells in the past hour. Ava isn't at full strength from my channeling her for that healing cell, and I just finished using some of your energy to fix the Sienna. We should go. We should stay. I held up both hands. All right. I paused, staring at them both till they decalmed. All right. You're both making excellent points here. I looked at Kaesha. I'm worrying about every single thing you mentioned. My wolf ran all the possible betrayal scenarios with me. I turned to Haley. You also make sense. What if he needs us? Would be no better than our spermed owner's pack if we leave him behind. I sighed. It's a huge risk, Kaesha, but we have to try. If he turns out to be real, we'll have another gifted wolf on our side. I'm still unsettled about Kirsten, our insider, but do you know the kind of advantage we'll have if they both turn out to be loyal? Added to the fact that Yuri is psychic witch and Haley is a seer descended. Alpha wolf, with some serious training, will be unstoppable. She completed. Exactly. The three of us shared a look. Kaesha nodded. Fine. I'm on board. Just know that I still don't trust him. Neither do we. Haley said. Kaesha shrugged. I still have enough strength for one more major spell. If we're attacked, he'll teleport us right back to Ava's place in Manhattan. I gave her an apologetic smile. I hate to ask that of you, Kaesha, but I think it'll be the best option in that scenario. Haley put an arm around each of our shoulders, smiling. Don't worry. Ari and I will give as much of our energy as you need to make it easier on you. I heard movement and looked back. The others following my line of sight. My apologies. Am I interrupting a moment? Timothy drawled, oozing sarcasm, as he moved towards us. A worn and faded backpack slung on one shoulder. Actually, you're right on time. Then let's move our asses. We've already been here too long. You're the one moving like you got the life sucked out of you. Haley countered. He snarled. Watch it. Sunshine. We could have another go. Right now. She simply smiled. Don't be so agitated. Grumpy. Seat on. I'm driving. Then she sailed into the driver's seat. Kaesha took her place in the middle row while Timothy confined himself to the last row after depositing his bag with the rest of our luggage. I rode shotgun again. Haley started the car, then frowned. How do we get back on the highway? I've got this, Kaesha replied. Then worked her magic, making the vehicle slowly levitate. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Timothy silently reach an arm forward, placing it on her shoulder. She briefly glanced back at him, then we were moving faster. The moment our tires touched the road, he let go of her. Kaesha yawned. Y'all. I need some rest. Wake me when we get there. She met my eyes in the mirror and nodded. It'd keep everyone safe. For the next half hour, Haley tried to engage Timothy in conversation, only to be met with either snark or silence. After yet another question, I noted that his breathing had deepened and evened out. Haley, HES asleep. HES exhausted from using his gift too much, and he helped Kaesha get the car onto the road. He needs it. Yeah, you're right. They both deserve it. She glanced briefly at me. You can rest too, Ari. It'll be fine. And you've done more than I have today. I shook my head. No, I'm good. Sorry to make you the designated driver like this. No worries, Aries. I mean, you're too young. Kaisha hates scars and Tim probably doesn't have an updated license even if he ever knew how. Besides, KES has a powerful psychic witch. Tim's a werewolf that can control trees and you're awesome. She beamed. I'm just glad to be useful. Even if it means being the driver. Somehow, her smile looked sad. Haley, you are beyond awesome. You're a strong alpha werewolf with seer blood. Even if you weren't, you're still fabulous. Okay, no matter what anyone's told you, you're not useless. And you're not just the driver. She remained silent for a while. Thanks. Ari, what race sisters for? She giggled. Depends on the sister. Can't argue with that. I checked the map on my phone, correlating what was there with the mini-map of werewolf packs they'd drawn. Looks like we'll need to go to Pine Ridge at Crestwood instead. It's closer to the forest and not everyone there is above the age of 50, 5 like in Village 6. Here's the navigation. I showed her my phone. She nodded, then took the next turn off the highway. We were only 20 minutes away from our destination. Haley and I spent the rest of the ride in comfortable silence. The even sounds Timothy and KES has breathing filling the vehicle. Soon, we pulled into a parking lot. Haley turned off the engine. You should stay here with them while I check us in. I told her, then got out of the car, purse in hand. As I made my way to the reception area, I took a good look around. The area was tranquil, a quiet place befitting of the elderly, as they claimed to be. There were a few adults that looked to be in their 30s and 40s. The younger ones were usually with an elderly person while the older ones appeared to be checking the place out. At the reception, a smiling middle-aged man greeted me. You're rather young for this place. Girl, what can I do for you? I returned the smile. My Grams is looking for where to spend the last few years of her existence. As she says, so I'm here with my friends to check all the Crestwood places out with her. She wants to stay at each village for 5 days, then see what she thinks. His smile warmed. That's awfully kind of you kids. Nice to see there are some good ones left in your generation. But what about your parents? I let a dazed, slightly shaken look cross my face, before casting my sorrowful gaze at my feet. They're dead. I lied in a small voice. Oh, you poor dearie. Don't worry. I'll get you. Your Grams and your friends the best house for rent that you can afford. You just take care of each other. Okay, what kind of house would she like? I let my head snap up, surprise and gratitude painting my features. Thank you so much, sir. I paused, wiping moisture from the corner of my eye. She's a rather serene person, so she would love anything near the forest. And there are quite a few of us, so we'll need for bedrooms. He nodded and typed some things on his computer, then gestured to the payment terminal. I swiped my card when he looked away. Him seeing the type it was just wouldn't line up with my story. You kids have fun with your grandmother. All right. I nodded. We will, mister. I looked at his name tag. Harrington. He waved a hand, then handed me keys and my receipt. Please, just call me Max. Do come to me if you need anything. Child. Yes, mister. Max. He smiled again. We waved goodbye as I left. I got into the car, showing Haley the address. She drove us there without difficulty, parking beside the house, then turned off the engine. Quietly, we carried our luggage into the house. It was a quaint thing, 1 bathroom for small bedrooms. The biggest one having its own bathroom, a homely living room, kitchen, and dining area. The front of the house faced the forest and lake, a rocking chair station for whoever wanted to take in the view. Take Timothy's things to the master bedroom. I told Haley, carrying KES bag. Once we were done, we returned to the Sienna, sliding the back seat door open. Time to wake them. Chapter 35 When We Sleep Haley SB. Oh V Kaesha. Kaesha. We're here. You need to wake up, Ari said, softly tapping Kaesha. She stirred, eyes shifting under her eyelids, before they snapped open. The sienna rocked violently and Dari and I were pushed several feet backwards, landing on our asses on the porch. No please. Don't take it. She shrieked. What the fuck? Tim yelled from the back, startled awake. A few moments later, having comprehended the situation, he reached forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. Kaesha, breathe. You're gonna wreck something, or someone, he said in a soft voice. Whatever you feel threatened by. Listen here. You're safe. No one's gonna take anything from you. Okay. Not long after the words left his mouth, the sienna stopped. Tim's sign. Haley. She jumped out, running towards us. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. Here, let me help you. Are you hurt? Did you hit anything hard? Can you Kaesha? Ari said calmly, waiting for the psychic witch to calm down. It's all right. Are you sure? I can heal you if anything hurts. Ari smiled. We're not hurt. Are we, Haley? She turned to me. Well, my butt's sore. I shook my head. There. We're fine. She got up, dusting off her hinny, then lent me a hand, before turning back to Kaesha. Come on. You still need rest. Let me show you your room. You can take a shower before going back to sleep. If you do like. Thanks. Kaesha said in a small voice, following Ari inside. I looked back at Tim as he climbed out of the vehicle, shutting the door behind him. I guess you're not so grumpy, I commented once he reached the porch. He rolled his eyes. The rocking was giving me a fucking headache. Was I supposed to just sit there and let her play bumper cars? But you sounded kind. He scoffed. Come on. I grabbed his hand, leading him into the house. Your things are inside. I'll take you to your room. Ari let you have the biggest one. You even get your own bathroom. I knew Ari didn't trust him. Not the way she could with me or Kaesha. He was far too closely connected to her former tormentors for her to comfortably do so. But she was at least trying to make him comfortable. And that was a start. How nice of her. He rolled his eyes, words dripping with sarcasm. A second later, he snatched his arm from my grip. Meanie. I grumbled. He sneered. Boo-hoo. Sunshine. Gonna addle on me. Make Kari take the big OL room from me. He is so freaking rude. Your room's over there. I stabbed a finger in the direction of his door, then stomped off to my own room. I slammed the door on the sound of his laughter. It wasn't enough. The sound of his fading chuckles still reached my ears before it altogether stopped and he retreated to his own room. Apart from Keely and occasional your mom. I've never seen anyone annoy you in such a short time with them. Even with Lance. He didn't really piss you off, Aline observed. I huffed and folded my hands, blowing on one of my longer bends. Ugh. Did you hear what he said about Ari? How he said it? He was mocking her kindness. Right. She didn't even bother to try and sound convinced. It's true. Just the one paying for this place gave him the biggest room. Instead of being grateful and appreciating how her kindness is growing, he just had to go and be nasty about it. I half threw myself onto the bed, wincing a little at its stiffness. His attitude is the worst. Just like Keely. Aline didn't say quiet on that one. Haley, you know that's not true. I know. I pouted. I knew. I knew he wasn't nearly as bad as Keely. Not even close. He was much kinder than her. He'd seen hardships and ways that she could never even. He'd been run out of his home and hunted like some criminal. All because He'd heard something. All because of something that was in no way his fault. But he was rude, arrogant, crude, and a general pain in my usually pleasant backside. Sure, he didn't walk into a room and expect everyone to be at his beck and call. But he made his job to be needlessly mean and distant, and he seemed to make a game of ruining my— He didn't appear to actively disagree, at least not to her face, and, to some extent, he seemed fond of Kaisha. Well, this was not my house back in Manhattan, and I was gonna let anyone make me miserable ever again. I sat up, squaring my shoulders. I'm not gonna let his attitude get to me. Good for you, she said dryly. Aw, Pauline. Be more supportive. This is the most I can muster. I huffed, then started unpacking. It was a short trip and I didn't have much with me, but I always thought it best to have all my clothing options out where I could see them. Plus, it was nice to have something to do with my hands. When I was done, only 10 minutes had passed and it was almost 4 p.m. I figured Kaisha should be done with the bathroom by now, and I definitely needed to get out of these clothes. They were bloody, dirty, and I could feel a thin layer of grime all over my being. I grabbed my towel and toiletries and went to take a hot bath. I took extra care to scrub the dry blood and dirt from earlier in the day. It was only about 5:15, but it felt like Ari taken us on this trip 2 days ago. I sighed. I guess it'll feel that way with all that's happened today. Once I returned to my room, I got dressed in some comfortable clothes and crawled into bed. It didn't take long for me to slip into unconsciousness. No, not again. My present consciousness groaned, taking in the scene. It found myself in a dark and stone hallway. Gold and black themed tapestries illustrating extravagant balls. Glorious warriors and some of lone women with enough regal ity to make any of the Queen of England's descendants feel like servants. I watched in third-person view as a version of myself raced down the hall, taking the stairs at the end in leaps and bounds. Well, my clothes were in tatters, the all-too-familiar pattern of dried blood coating them. Hair, a greasy, dirty mess, and skin pale and dull. I was covered in bruises and barely healed cuts. There was a particularly nasty gash on the side of our head, and we were bleeding profusely from our outer left thigh. My present consciousness, in the form of an inconceivable ghost, floated after her, an all-too-familiar dread clenching my corporeal core. I knew this scene. Other me reached the top of the stairs, and continued her run, kicking down doors on each side of the hall. I floated over to the 4th door on the right and counted down. 4, 5, 6, 8, and 7. Other me knocked down the door I was next to. Keely. She rushed inside and I floated in after her. The view before me still made me feel the blood drain from my intangible face. Her normally straight, glossy blonde hair was sprawled out around her, lacking gloss, shine, and its usual luster. And somehow, the unthinkable had happened and she was missing some chunks of it. Keely. Oh my God. Keely. No, this is not happening. The other me was reduced to sobs as she did her best to stem blood loss from her abdomen. After so many times, corporeal me was still heartbroken. No matter how many times Keely had been nasty towards me, the sight of the ripped skin off her nose still led my skin. Looking at all her injuries and bruises still made me desperately want to make them disappear. And I floated closer in anticipation. Almost immediately, I felt my present self being sucked into the other, distraught version of myself. Her emotions and being became mine as the feeling of all her aches and injuries bombarded my consciousness. Sticky warmth filled my palms with the feeling of fresh blood. And then, panic, terror, despair. The next words out of my mouth were hers as well. And we were one. The princess. I knew she would be able to do something. Anything. Where is Princess? I gasped awake, struggling in my tangled sheets and tumbling out of bed with an OF, followed by a loud groan. Haley? Pauline startled awake. Are you okay? Yeah. I sat up, rubbing the kink in my neck and gathering up my sheets. Same vision again. I nodded. Did you find out who the princess was this time? I shook my head, dejected once more. This hadn't been the first time I'd seen this in my sleep. At first, I thought it was simply a dream. I'd often cry once I woke. not wanting my twin to die despite her flaws and mistreatment. But it had gotten too much. The dream would only occur the times I slept within the 48 hours nearing a full moon shift, and then it would come at least once over the 2, 3 or 4 nights of the shift, while Op Elline was in control and my consciousness took the back seat. However, once it overheard Mom talking about our seer heritage with Keely, I was so sure it was simply a dream, so figuring that it was a vision, it decided to take the offensive. But to do that, I had to figure out clues about the location and who the princess was. Once I could, then I'd be able to prevent Keely's death by making sure either I or Keely were with the princess at any given time in that location. Unfortunately, the vision was always cut off before future me could say the princess' name, so it'd taken to observing the surroundings. I knew every stone of the corridor, the number of steps, the details of every tapestry, the positions of every dimmed light, and most of all, the details of the room I would find Keely in, but not the princess's name. Sighing, I made my way to the kitchen to drink some water. It was already dark, but I didn't need the lights and risk waking anyone. Thank goodness there was Wi-Fi, cause I normally cowled and sleep till some hours later and needed something to occupy myself with. On my way back, the uneasy sounds of whimpering and restlessness reached my ears. Following them, I found myself standing at the door of none other than Tim. How ironic. I wrestled with myself, whether or not to intrude on what seemed to be a vulnerable moment. He'd probably throw all the snark he could find at me for bothering him. But what was the point of being allies if we cowled and be there for each other? Resting a hand on the doorknob, I gathered my patience and ventured into his den. Here goes nothing.